Hi there, friends. Welcome to the No Small Stories podcast, where we explore paths less traveled with creatives and entrepreneurs from all walks of life and in all stages of their journey. No matter how small you start, your story is always a big deal to us. So let's dive into today's episode and meet our guest. Welcome, everyone, to another episode of the No Small Stories podcast. Today, I am joined by Anthony Porter. Hello, Anthony. Thank you so much for
Hello.
being here.
Hey, Haleigh. Thanks for having me on. It's fun.
So we have Outdoor Anthony on Instagram is what I know of your content. I have since, checked out the other things that you've done. You have a very colorful life thus far. So tell us a little bit about what you do.
Yeah, totally. Yes, as Haleigh put, I am Outdoor Anthony on Instagram, but I'm also doing just a lot of stuff across different platforms. And I'm just an environmental educator. So I have spent the last 8 years doing environmental education work across the country. And I've been to 25 countries at this point, just kind of traveling and doing my thing. And I used to be a backpacking guide, so kind of wrapping it all up into one solid package. I've been doing online education for the last few years, and recently it's just kind of been more of a viral sensation than I expected. So it's pretty awesome, and I'm kind of
Well, I
moving
have
that into other things. But yeah,
well, I have to say it's really great content. You have such awesome production value. Like I'm someone who's got a film background, so I look at your stuff and I'm just like, you've got a great team behind you, or you are one hell of a one man show. So what is some of the behind the scenes, if you will, a little bit, because you do have
yes.
great content that is very well put together and well shot. So it's I find it very impressive myself.
You know what's funny is I used to be way more into video editing, and then I use all this free software online. And anyway, I just ditched the computer. I just bought a $70 app on my phone. And I've been doing
Okay,
that for the past 2 years. So I've been writing, acting, and editing everything, which is super
on your
fun. But
phone.
yeah, it's been fun because like I've talked with producers and stuff that are like doing TV show stuff. And they're like, oh, yeah, let's get you and your team on the phone together. I'm like, all right, well, you're on the phone with my team.
You're on the phone with the team right now. Would you like me to bring in any of my other infinite selves that can join the conversation?
Exactly. So, that's always been a nice little pat on the back. They like it. People think it's more than one person, which is probably a good thing.
It looks like it is to me. I would have assumed that you had a team. So good for you. And what is the app that you use then?
Oh man, what's it called? Splice, I think it's called.
Okay.
Yeah, I pay like 60, $70 a year for it, and it has
Hmm.
paid itself over multiple times, which is great. I am not sponsored by Splice, but hey, Splice, if you're listening, sponsor
I was
me.
going to say, let's get you some ad revenue from Splice. I don't see why not. It's doing you well. So
Yeah,
where
thank you very
did
much.
you? It looks great. So where did you get started? I guess I would say in your interest in nature in an educational sense.
Yeah, let's see. Well, both my brothers were computer programmers, and they still are. And I was kind of the odd one out. We all did like Boy Scouts growing up and stuff, and that was cool.
Hmm.
But um, I always took it like a little. I took everything a little too far. I think is kind of the theme of my life. And so, when they kind of got jobs and college degrees, I was like, "Hey, Dad, I don't want to go to college. I just want to be in the woods." And he's like, "Dude, we saved up for you, so like you're gonna go to
You gotta
college."
go do something. You
So,
can't Henry
anyways,
David Thoreau this one. You gotta go do something.
yeah, it's the 21st century. So I just got my major in Parks and Recreation Management with an emphasis in outdoor education and leadership, which is a mouthful. But
Yeah.
I'm basically just like a super bona fide backpacking guide that can like interpretively talk. And I paid way too much money to say that. Um,
You know
s-
what? But again, I think that it's, lends itself to really great because what I really do like about it's not just the production value, but you have really great information that you are presenting and you do have a lot of personality that you put behind it. So it's a lot of fun the way that you are presenting this information that is, otherwise might be a bit, dull to some people if they were coming at just, the facts of nature sort of thing.
Thanks, Haley. That's nice. I really get all these facts just from the work that I've done. I've worked in Minnesota. I used to travel around with a porcupine and educate people on like woodland ecology.
I did
And then
watch those videos. So you traveled with that porcupine.
yeah, I'd put him in a little doggy crate, and we would just kind of travel around, and it would just be me and him on the road. And
This was your pet sort of? Like, how did you come about having a
no, it
porcupine?
was Well, porcupines are super taught by their parents. They're kind of that I don't know what they call it. It's like heritage learning. And so, um, what his parents basically both died in getting hit by a car, and so somebody found this porcupine, and then I applied to work at this environmental learning center, and so I was a naturalist going around, and then they picked me up and they said, "Hey, we've kind of been doing a little bit of education with this porcupine. Can you bring this porcupine around the western coast of actually it was the eastern coast of Minnesota and talk to all these resorts about woodland ecology?" I was like, "Oh my god, yes." So,
But
it was
yes,
a very
can I
weird,
please?
specific job. Yeah, it was sick.
I
I loved it.
That's amazing. I love that. That is so. Can I? What was the porcupine's name?
His name was Thistle, and,
So that's
he
cute.
climbed trees a lot, and, yeah, first time I met him, he was on a walk with one of the vets, that was taking care of him, and they're just walking through the woods together, just, like, side by side, like a little Pokemon following, like, its trainer. It was
Hmm.
adorable, and I was like, "Yeah, this is probably somewhere I
Yes, I
wanna
will
be."
take this job. Please sign me up. What
Yeah.
can? Yeah, absolutely. That is so much fun. I really love that. That's just such a. That is a fun little story. Traveling around the country with a porcupine. That I think you need to like animate that to some kind of little cartoon that you can put on your content. Just
Oh,
like
that was
you and a little animated
yeah,
porcupine.
that's adorable. Yeah, I'm actually
The
working with
outdoor Anthony
illustrators
and
right now.
Thistle are going. Where are you going today?
Oh, that would be so that man, Haley, you should be my, my, like, creative manager.
Yeah, I mean, I would absolutely love to. Can you pay me to do it? Like, sign me
I
up.
don't
I'm
even
here
pay
for it.
myself. No,
I don't
sorry.
either. Hey, it's okay. You know what? We're both working on it. We'll get there. So,
Right on.
no, I really do love that. And you do. So, you have a lot of obviously educational background in these things, but then the being out in nature itself, that must just be something that, you said you were in Boy Scouts and stuff. Were you just always an outdoors kid? Were you, I suppose, I don't know if you were of the same generation I am, where your parents were like, no, go outside. I don't want you here. Get out. We don't care what happens out there. Go play in the street.
Yeah, that's exact same generation, totally. So, I had 2 brothers, and then across the street, there were 4 brothers, and so there was the 7 of us running around the neighborhood, and, they always just
Terrorizing
locked the door.
everyone.
The parents just had, like, a little marg in their hands inside, and they're like and their rule was, "Do not come back into the house unless someone's heads are in their hands." And
And
so, we
that
didn't.
wasn't quite the language that I had back home, but yeah, same sentiment. Don't, if you're not bleeding, don't care.
Yeah, exactly. So, since then, they've all not really done anything outdoorsy, but I was the youngest of those 7 folks. Actually, no, there's one more younger than me, but basically, I kinda aspired to be the people that I thought they were, which was, like, the outdoorsy adventurers, and so I took that, like I said before, way too far, and now I am, like, a viral social media online educator, which is kinda fun, so
It's super fun. And, isn't it? Sorry, we have a friend joining us. Apparently, we need to have animals in your episode. My dog has decided to say hello. Sorry about that. But
Oh.
I do love, that you do have fun with the educational element. I think that, I'm someone who I love the outdoors and I love nature documentaries and things like that in general. When you say you want to be David Attenborough with jokes, I'm like, that's perfect. I love that. That would be just like exactly two of my favorite things, comedy and nature.
Yeah, I like to call it, like a Point Break Bill Nye. Like,
I
I could get out
also
there,
love
I could
that.
totally, like, scale the mountains while doing online educational content, and I was just
You
telling a producer a couple days ago, I was like, "What if we did, like, an online episodic series where I would, like, survive in the wild and educate, but at the same time, we paid some random person to just, like, try to ruin the entire episode and just gave it, like, a bunch of random,
oh,
like, props, and I think that
I
would be a
would
fun
be
episode.
I would be so good at ruining all of it. Please invite me. I would be so good. Like, you would have all just the best, like, nice, lovely information, and I'm sure I would find a way to, like, get a paper cut and get an infection or something like that, and
Or,
probably
like,
make
yeah, we're
some
like,
really inappropriate, like, either very immature jokes or very dad jokes. This is what I would be doing.
That's what we need. Yeah, Haley, we'll chat.
I love it. But that is so you've been, in a lot of different places too, though, doing education.
Mhm.
So how do you I mean, are you still kind of traveling and doing that sort of thing right now?
Yeah. Yeah, I like to travel as much as I can. I haven't really I've for as many times as I've been on a plane in the last 2 months, I haven't really done anything crazy. I think so right now I'm up in the forest here in Lake Tahoe, and I've been up here for almost a year now, which is the longest I've really lived any single place.
I
So that's
love that.
exciting.
That is
Um,
exciting.
yeah,
I
so maybe I'll give it another year here before I run off into Argentina or something, but, um yeah, who knows? Right now, just have, like, a dedicated 40-hour-a-week job, and I'm doing that great, so I think once I eventually, figure out how to maybe, like, monetize this a bit more, then I'll get
mhm.
out and make this a full-time gig, but, right now, it's just, like, a pure passion project, and, um and it's really paying off its dividends in terms of, some folks wanting to create content, hopefully on TV soon, which is gonna be really exciting.
I think that that would be very exciting. If I can come along on a camping trip and be that person who complains and says all of the wrong things so that you can constantly correct me. I was so good at ruining it. That would be a great little fun game to play.
Oh,
And
man, that person would have it made just to get paid to ruin something.
I kinda I sort of if you look at any of my conversations that I like to have on my podcast, I think you would find that I was probably someone who was built for that. I'm built to ruin things and just totally shatter everyone's perspective of things with my nonsense and outrageous silliness. So, yeah, no,
Oh,
I think it
boy.
would be a lot of fun.
Right on.
So, but you do also have some other things that I know I was checking out that you work on. So, you also do a podcast where you tell stories of some different nonprofits. So, tell us a little bit more about that.
Yeah, totally. Right now I'm working with the Orangutan Republic Foundation, and, they're just really good friends that, I just really started to volunteer with, and, I've become one of their main volunteers, I think, at this point, but essentially what happened was I went to one of their benefits maybe 3 years ago, and it
Mhm.
was, like, beers for orangutans. So, it
Very
was like a
nice.
dollar for an orangutan, like Tang beer, and it was like a
Okay.
tangy beer, and I was like, "Oh, yeah, I'm totally gonna donate." So anyways, I got a little spicy, a little sloshed,
Hey, you
and
know
I was
what?
like,
If it's for the orangutans, you had to, right?
"Yeah." And I
You
I
were
went up
just trying to
to
be supportive.
I went up to the director of the organization. I'm like, "Hey, listen, if you need anything ever, ever, like, tell me, and I will do it." And they called me the next week and they're like, "We need all these things," and I'm like, "Done." And so I help run their podcast where we just kinda share the stories of, this man, Gary Shapiro, who, like, is the guy that helped, like, teach sign language to orangutans,
Mhm.
and he's been in the field for the last, like, 40 years, 50 years of his life. And yeah, so I just work a lot with them as they try to spread the word about like online or well, I guess we do have an online platform now, but like boots on the ground education work in Indonesia, Malaysia, where the orangutans actually live. And I'm a
Mhm.
huge, passionate rainforest person, especially when it comes to orangutans because they can climb and I can too. So I feel kindred.
Aw, that's very sweet. See, now I'm already imagining, like, an episode of something where, like, you take me to the jungle to try to show me this, like, very serious stuff about orangutans, and I'm complaining about the size of bugs and freaking out about various different things that may or may not eat me. I think I already seeing the fun that it would be.
Right on. I would probably complain about the bugs too. Those bugs are nuts.
I
Uh,
I might start crying at some of them. It's entirely
that's okay.
possible.
I probably won't go that far. So you got me beat. You got me
Yeah,
beat there.
some of them might make me so. But that is really
Fun.
cool. I just I love how it seems like you just sort of bounce around and kind of happen yourself into these different projects or these different things that you are and all of it in the nature realms. So I can you talk a little bit about what your journey has been like, I guess, in
Mhm.
that sense? I mean, so you do the podcast that you're working on. I saw that you were also one of the American Ninja Warriors. That you were on a
Yeah.
break. Yeah, correct?
Yeah, I've been doing that for the last 4 or 5, I can't remember, 4 years probably. Yeah, I did pretty well on the show. My new episodes are actually gonna be out, probably in May of 2024, maybe June 2024, so you'll see me up there in a little bit.
Very
Um,
cool.
so yeah, so that's exciting too. That's looking to be more so in the rear view, just because, like, it is physically taxing. Like that show was
Yeah.
nuts. So, like now that I can really focus my energies towards other things that are even more profitable when it comes to kind of the trajectory I want to take my life. I always thought Ninja Warrior was going to be like kind of a stepping stone to get more attention and uh, to kind of like spread the message of like conservation and getting folks outside. And
Hmm.
yeah, so that's where I did its job, and now I'm moving forward. But at least I have those creds packed away in my pocket.
And I mean, did had to have met some people and been able to do some amount of networking, right, to be able to,
Yeah.
while you were there. So very much good workout, right? Absolutely. Some of that stuff I have to say is very intense. So I don't know what you must be, on the jungle gym with the orangutans or how you're training for it.
It's funny. I was actually at the gym 20 minutes before I got on this call. um,
Keeping things fit so you can keep rocking.
Yeah, yeah, totally. It's kind of tough, and also like I don't know. I like to have a little bit muscle on me, and people keep comparing me to Joe Goldberg, from You, the show You,
Oh,
and
okay.
on that show, he's like an insane murderer. So I'm trying to look as little like him as possible, even though he's
Yeah,
like the actor is objectively like a very handsome model. Like that's cool. I'm very flattered, but
but you're not
he's kind of
trying to
like
go
this.
for that in your brand.
No, he's kinda like this scrawny guy, and he's, like, kinda weaselly and murdery, so I'm trying to be a little bit more bulky and nice and not
Eh,
murdery.
a little bit less murdery. Okay. Yes. Thank you. The
Yeah.
true crime world has plenty of stories. We don't need to add to them.
Yes.
Very good. I
Yeah.
love it.
Y don't look
That's
over here for that.
don't look over here for that. But again, just I'm just fascinated by how it seems like you do just kind of you have all these different projects that just sort of, I don't know, do they fall into your lap magically? Do you have some kind of like code that you've cracked that you can tell us about?
Yeah. Yeah. I kinda think I do. Um, so I was backpacking in the Pacific Northwest. I just kinda was living out of a bag for, like, a month. I just wanted to do it, and I backpacked Mount Hood, went down a little bit, and then rented a car, and then tromped on up to Washington, and I thought Washington was gonna be awesome, and
Hmm.
it rained the whole time, and I didn't bring a tent because I usually don't bring tents. I'm happy just sleeping under the stars, and, I had a tarp, so I ended up just, like, stringing this tarp over my head and laying there all day. It was just torrential raining, and I just had nothing I could do, and so I just started journaling a little bit, and um, I was just, like, talking to myself up. I'm like, "Listen, I'm, like, super athletic. I have, like, this educational background. I do, like, a whole bunch of archery, and on top of that, like, I feel like I have a good, like, stage presence, so how can I" like, I was thinking to myself first, like, "How do I hit all those points?" And I'm like, "No, that's too spread thin. I don't wanna hit, like, all those points." So I decided, like, in that moment, like, if I'm going full in and, like, dedicating myself to my passions, like, I can't piecemeal myself, like, that needs to be
Hmm.
my package. I need to be an outdoor adventurer that shoots arrows and can be silly.
Right
Um,
there, you go.
and it was niche. It still is, but at the same time, I didn't really understand where my trajectory was going till I understood that it needs something that is your passion needs all of you. It doesn't need the section that you want to parse out for that. It needs your
Hmm.
entire dedication. Um, with no, like, bars held back. I remember, like, telling people, like, "Hey, my arrows are in that picture. Can you not post that of me? I don't wanna be seen with my bow and arrow." And then, like, now I'm like, "Dude, let me get my bow in the picture. Let's
Let
do
me
this."
yeah, flip it around. Like use your talents.
Yeah.
That is something that we do kind of talk about a little bit sometimes on the podcast when it comes to being a creative person, right? Like how do you get your stuff out there and how do you network the right way or what are the right tips and tricks to get these things to work? But a lot of it I always do say and I do believe is your mindset and is the energy that you're putting into it, right? And if you really are following your highest joy and following your passions, things will sort of fall into place in the right ways. And so it's kind of what I think is interesting about the things that you work on and these different projects that seem like they've kind of put themselves together for you, just because you are in the space of following your passion and following what really, lights you up. And I do think that that is such a big part of this creative thing that we try to do, right? Is that you
Yeah.
really do have to be willing to put yourself in it fully, right? And willing to show up and be as authentic as you can and be willing to be seen. And that's,
Yeah.
not always the easiest thing to do to get your mindset to that place.
If I could clap right now, I would, but I'm holding one microphone with my hand, so I can't.
Oh,
But great. You're
clap.
killing it, Haley.
I'll clap for you, for me. How's that? Trying to help out.
Oh,
I'll
that's I
applaud
love it.
myself anytime someone says I should, because, if we don't applaud ourselves, who will?
Love it. Yeah. Yeah.
For sure. You have to do that. So, is there anything that, I mean, I do kind of love this story that you're in, that the rain sort of like forced you to sit with yourself to the point that you're having to figure out, what am I going to do with these things that I'm passionate about and these talents that I have and these skills that I have available?
Mhm.
Kind of, again, the idea of the universe just saying, "Hey, stop and sit for a minute. I want to talk at you." So,
Yeah.
and from there, we have, is that just like the immediate jump to like creating the video?
No, not in the slightest. That happened. I remember having that epiphany in, like, I don't know, late 2018, and, and I mean, it took, like, 3 or 4 years of just, like, working on my craft in the off time and still, like, honing my skills, to really get attention, and honestly, just a stroke of luck. Like, I just made a funny video about, what was my first viral video? That's a good question. I can't remember, but essentially, it was a little quip nature fact, and I made it silly about me dying. Oh, it was about,
I made it
um
really about me dying.
yeah,
That's
it was
something I,
about
as a writer who in
dragonflies.
dragonflies. Oh, I love it.
Sorry.
No, I was just gonna say the silly about me dying. That is again so in my realm. If you can put things that are a bit morbid or in the horror genre and mix it with comedy. If you can mix anything with comedy, it makes me happy. But I do really love that. That just
Thanks.
put it with me dying, and it went viral, and that's. I do love that story. I think that's putting together again some of the things that I love the most.
Thanks. Yeah, it's just kind of yeah. I once I understood that I needed to, like, put my whole self into, like, one solid movement, and, like,
Mhm,
one solid goal instead of having, like, little strings branching out with different skills, just, like, combining them to make, like, a solid beam of trajectory.
mhm.
Um, it took me probably a couple years to really, understand what I needed and what, my service was that I could give, and so a lot of that came through my marketing degree too. I was like, "Oh, listen, so I can learn about how to market, but also I can use this to brand myself as well." So I did a bit of that too.
Mhm.
I used a lot of the marketing background from my master's degree to really figure out, like, um, how to package myself better, which is really awesome. So it was
I
not a, like, the realization was fast, but the process is slow. And anything that is worth building takes time. If you get viral immediately, you will not last. Like it's about the sauce that lasts a long time. You gotta not be a firework, you gotta be like a candle or like a torch. Let's do a torch, that's cooler than a candle.
I was
Do a
gonna say
torch.
I like it. A fire sign right over here, so you're speaking my language. I'm absolutely loving it. That you got to. I see. I have some impatience though, so that's I think where I get a little bit. I want the firecracker and I want the big explosion, but that's not where the secret sauce is, right? So like,
Mhm.
I think that's part of one of the things that, again, why I would be good at ruining everything. I would be the firecracker. It's gonna come in and just explode everything. And somebody else is gonna have to, like, get out the torch to, like, "Okay, we gotta clear all the rest of this out and start over." No,
Love it.
I
Alright,
love that.
Haley, before we came on air, you told me that you're a Sagittarius, right?
Yes.
Do you wanna take a poke and guess what my sign is?
I'm gonna guess you as a Leo.
Mm. Is that your
No?
first answer? No, no, it's not that, no.
Okay. No, that was my first guess. Tell me. I would have to, I think we would have to sit for a little bit longer, and I'd have to
Yeah.
make some more references and see which ones hit.
I always like to ask because I don't actually know the attributes of this. I'm not really into astrology, but I'm a Taurus, and,
Are you? Okay.
I'm always,
Well, Taurus
I
is
have
an
no idea what
earth
it means.
sign, so you're
Oh, good.
definitely outdoors. Definitely that fits. Uh, Taurus is bold. Taurus is a little bit stubborn. Do you find yourself to be stubborn? Maybe stubborn in the sense of being dedicated?
There we go. Bingo. Let's do that. Yeah.
See, I can help you. I can do some PR for you.
Yeah.
I can spin anything to make it sound a little bit more positive.
We're like, meet Anthony. He's an outdoor educator and he's a Taurus.
Yeah, right. Like you could double up and like here's your show hosting profile that you can also use as a dating profile. Like here's your free chart and all those things that people want now.
It's funny. I refuse to put my astrological sign on any of those dating apps because I used to have a girlfriend and her best friend told her not to date me because I was like astrologically incompatible with her. And I'm like,
Oh,
well,
see, no,
that what?
I'm not on any of the dating apps because let's not even get it. Like that's a whole other conversation that we don't need to have
I'm on
about
all
how
of them.
they.
Come find me.
There, sure, everybody go find Anthony.
Come
Uh,
find me on on the apps.
oh Lord, no, I can't deal with it. There's this again, true crime a little bit too much in my brain. I'm like, any one of you could be Ted Bundy. I'm not trying to play that game. Like,
Mm.
thank you, no. Sorry, where were we? We're gonna have to go backwards now just a little bit. Sidetracked.
Uh, yeah.
The
We were
the
talking about
Sagittarius zodiac stuff. Um, no,
yeah.
see, I think when I look at the compatibility things of the zodiac stuff that because I think it's a little bit silly that people get that serious about it. My first thought is, how can I break all of the cosmic rules and really get along with the people that I'm not supposed to get along with?
Oh, that's good.
That's what I want to do.
You know, that's better. Yeah, that's better than the alternative of like using it as a rule book. Um,
No, I want to
yeah.
use it as a how can I defy this just a little bit? And then I'll pick the things that I like about it that fit my personality. I'll just go ahead and blame my zodiac sign for the fact that I am loud and ridiculous sometimes.
You know, I used to teach astronomy like pretty professionally, and I learned that the zodiac signs that we have nowadays are about 2.5 weeks off from the actual solar patterns because of just the time. Like we made these dates during Greek times.
Right. And like the stars shift, right? And the
So like,
positions aren't exactly the same anymore as they used to be.
yeah, so it's kind of funny. I always like to poke that at people that are like really adamant about it. But you know what? If you believe whatever you want to believe, like people believe more detrimental things. Like that's not
Yeah,
at anything.
and you can't that's kind of one of those all truths are true to every individual, right? Like whatever
Love
you
it.
believe is true, that is true for you. And it is not my place to tell you what's true for you. Just pick what's true for me. And that's the best I
Haley,
can do.
do you believe in Bigfoot?
Oh, I so love Bigfoot. I'm going to believe in Bigfoot because the world without Bigfoot would be no fun at all. So
Oh,
I choose to believe in Bigfoot. I choose to believe that there have to be cryptids out in the world just because it is such a fun thing for me.
yeah. I like that. Cool. You believe in it for the sake of wild worlds.
Yes, I believe
Mm.
in everything is available in the infinite multiverse. Just because I don't interact with it doesn't mean that it doesn't exist, right? So here's a fun little let me have this argument with you because I was having it with my sisters. So from your, I don't know, scientific standpoint, maybe isn't the right word, but there was a conversation we were having because in the scientific world, evidently, there is not an agreement upon whether or not humans can feel wetness.
Oh my
We
god.
apparently, yes. See, this is how I would ruin everything about your show. This is how I would do it. So apparently, we don't have whatever sensory receptors are required to detect the qualities of liquids the way that like a manatee does, apparently. So I was kind of freaking out a little bit in this conversation about if we can't agree on what wetness is defined as, that tells me that reality is not real. And everything does have to be available in the infinite multiverse because if I'm in the water with a manatee, that manatee has these sensory receptors that are allowing it to apparently detect things about water that I have no way of interacting with. And that is just a whole layer of reality that I don't get to experience. And that just like blew my mind.
I
So,
like that.
but again, that is how I would absolutely ruin everything about your show.
I would honestly say, yeah, so humans have great noggins, and we pat ourselves on the back for that constantly.
Do we not?
Um,
Yes, we do.
but I think that, yeah, so the fact that, like, other animals can feel a level of, um, elemental knowledge that we don't have,
Mhm.
completely valid. That makes total sense. There is an argument going back into, like, human past that a large portion of humans during, like, central times in Africa before we expanded out, we were actually almost, like, 50% of the time waterborne. Like, we are we would spend, like, most of the day in the water. Um,
Okay.
'Cause,
And
yeah, I mean, there
I would be
there are
perfectly happy with
mammals,
that.
and that's, like, a hypothesis of why we lost our hair so fast, compared to other great apes. Uh,
Okay.
yeah, so I always think of, like, The Way of Water, that Avatar 2 movie that I'm not super a fan of. But,
Okay.
the fact that there's, like, 2 different kinds of those blue alien people, but one of them have more of an aquatic adaptation of their tail, um,
Okay.
in the water. So, um, yeah, I don't know. There are certain tribes right now that will be 12 or 14 hours in the water per day, um, and that's their life, and that's totally, fine. I think it's off the coast of Indonesia, and I've been in a fishing village
Okay.
in Ghana, and these guys are like, we would outswim any Olympic diver. He's like, straight up, we've been in the water for the last, like, several thousand years. He's like, you can't beat that with training.
Right.
Um, so
That's really amazing. I did not know about that. I would love to learn about it.
yeah, so I guess my whole round around point to what you're saying is, um, the reality is always there, like you're saying, but
Mhm.
humans don't have as much sensory closeness to the planet as we expect. I mean, no matter how many
No.
robots we can make, we still have police dogs because they have way better senses than we could even imagine. You
Right,
know,
absolutely. You cannot, mankind cannot improve on nature. And we often forget that we are a part of it. We think of it as being separate of us because, we're in these houses with these four walls and we're so much more intelligent, we think, than all of the other animals of the animal kingdom, right? But
hey, we're crafty. We're super crafty, but um,
yes, we are very crafty. We're rascals to the core, 100%.
Alan Watts has a good point where he's like, the smartest way to go across the water is on sailboat because you do none of the work and the wind does it for you. Or like trees that have those pods that helicopter down,
Mhm.
they use zero energy to release those pods, and yet those pods can go hundreds of meters or thousands of feet. So like,
Right. I
um,
love Alan Watts.
is the definition of intelligence using adaptations to use as little energy as possible? Because, like, it just depends on how we define intelligence, but, there are other animals out there that are like, and plants, just any kind of life that has levels of intelligence we can't even perceive, which is kind of fun to think about.
Right. Like I said, the manatee is feeling stuff about that water that I have no way of experiencing. And that means that that manatee is experiencing things about reality that I just don't even know about. It's
Bingo.
I see now I think this would just be like super fun to just continuously have this conversation about nature and how do you delve into what are the things that these different animals are experiencing in reality that we have no way of understanding. Like a sea urchin, the way that a sea urchin detects light, like what else is here and now around me that I just don't have the ability to perceive kind of thing.
Yeah, don't get me started on intertidal zones with sea urchins. Those guys, that's like the fastest area of adaptations on the planet is intertidal zones because you have air, you have water, you have crashing, you have movement, and these freaking animals have to survive. Most of those animals that live in intertidal zones, like sea urchins, sea anemones,
Mhm.
350 million years old at least. Like, it's insane. It's they've figured out the planet. They have, except
Right.
for humans.
And isn't that's such a it kind of boggles my mind just a little bit to imagine the kind of consciousness or sentience that exists in creatures like that that have been around for that long and have really not necessarily changed or you know they've obviously adapted very well but it's like well they're already just built so incredibly well, right? And I don't know. It's an interesting concept to me. The idea of if you were to experience the world as something like a sea urchin, you know, what sort of knowledge do you have when you can tap into that long of an existence? Because your
Yeah.
DNA is encoded in you to have like that information.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. It's exciting to think about.
See,
Shameless
now I'm
plug.
dreaming.
If you want to learn more fun facts about this stuff, I'm coming out with a kids nature adventure book this summer. So like go get it in 2024 in the
What
summer.
is it called?
It's going to be called My Epic Nature Adventure. And it's going to be written by you because there's activities, but mainly it's a lot of self reflection pages and adventures you can do with your kiddos, or
Oh,
um,
very fun.
heck, you could do it as an adult. I'm not going to stop you.
No, why would you? We all could use a little bit extra adventure in this world. I love that.
Yeah,
See, now I am imagining though, like some kind of animated series for kids and adults where you would like get to sort of pretend that you're experiencing the world as these different creatures and like you could talk about their environment and how they evolved and how they sense their environment. Sorry, that's again the brain that never stops trying to come up with business ideas. Like turn that kid's book into like an entire
oh
series,
yeah,
I think
that's
would
the
be great.
that's the plan. That's the plan.
I think that would be really great. And it's I don't know, I love the idea of it being animated and maybe just a little bit sort of I don't know if I want to say speculative because try the imagination element again when it comes to
Yeah,
those kind of things and sort of looking at science and looking at what you know about nature and then sort of trying to put yourself in a position of the awe and wonder that a kid would have about it, right? I
totally
mean,
agree.
that's something that I think is where my brain goes.
And you know what? Like, the if you've ever watched Zomboomafu, as you said you're a millennial, you've probably watched Zomboomafu. It's the little lemur that jumps around with the 2 Krat brothers, on I think it's PBS. But anyways,
Okay.
um, they were the zoologists, like them and Steve Irwin and like that whole
Let's do that.
generation of like animal and education folks
Mhm.
nailed it. But as we all know, Steve Irwin's gone, and then the wild Krats, the 2 Krat brothers have grown up quite a bit, and they're I don't know, they're a bit more aged. They know
Mhm.
that, and so a clever thing they did was they made cartoon versions of themselves, of them in their 20s, and they go out and
Because
do
then
these
you can do
adventures
it
still,
forever.
right? So I think I'm gonna use the face that I have now until I'm old, and then I'm gonna just be a cartoon
That
again, and
is
then live forever,
brilliant. That's brilliant. And that is how you achieve immortality. We've
and
cracked
that
it.
is how you achieve immortality. That's right.
There it is. We've solved it. Now we can get everyone that will go viral because we've cracked the code.
And then I'll use AI after I die to just still make more of my episodes, and you'll
You
never
just
know that
have
I
to,
died.
right. You just train the AI with your personality and your consciousness for the next
Mhm.
50 or so years. I mean, that thing will be able to keep going for infinity.
Exactly. Maybe I shouldn't do that. We'll see.
Maybe that's not.
Maybe that's not what I wanna have happen.
No,
Like,
I
in, like,
love that.
400 years, it's my, like I am just, like, the anti-Anthony, and I'm running around digitally destroying the world because 'cause I'm, like, nature-based,
Oh my, like
just a
that.
rampant AI.
No, listen, that could be a fun little cartoon in and of itself. Like, here's what happened in an alternate dimension where Anthony went Terminator instead. The AI Anthony went Terminator, right?
Oh, so, like, in the cartoon, I have to fight my future AI self? That's pretty meta for the fact that it's gonna be a kids show, but I'm into it.
I mean, kids are so much more like quick than we ever were. I mean, they were born with the internet in their hands. They can have no problems at all following a storyline like that. I believe. I think it'll be totally fine. I am loving
Right
this
on.
already. I'm writing up episodes already in my head. I think it's a lot of fun.
You
So let me
schemer.
I am. Let me ask you a question. So as an outdoor person, where is like your favorite place to be outdoors? Do you have a favorite place you've been geographically? Do you have a favorite type of
Hmm.
climate or location you prefer?
I get asked this a lot, and as much as I wanna change my answers, you know what? I am gonna change my answers this time. Um, So my go-to answers are the northern shores of Vietnam in like Halong Bay in the Cat Ba area. So those are
Okay.
just a bunch of freestanding limestone islands that have kind of been degrading over time, but now what's left are these giant egg-shaped islands that are like their own little um ecosystems, each one of them. So that's really awesome. I really enjoy that. Um More recently, I kinda went, like, snorkeling and, went kind of in the deeper water and, like, witnessed some, like, whales and stuff like that, and the more I learn about marine ecosystems, I mean,
Hmm.
that's where life is. Like, it's weird to say, but, like,
That's where the aliens are.
we are all
Like,
astronauts. The actual planet that we know of, we are a water planet. Like, that is where life came
right.
from. That's probably where it's all gonna return to because it'll just be, like, easy I mean,
As the ocean levels continue to rise.
it's crazy, but yeah, I would say that, like, life gets so much harder once those animals got onto land. You have to fend for yourself way more. You have to deal with drying out, with dehydration, with overexposure. Sorry, 1 second. Talking about overexposure.
Overexposure, I was gonna say, out in the sun too long, SpongeBob.
I was out in the sun all day today. Um, but yeah, I mean, we really are astronauts. Like, part of life on the planet is like being wet, like making sure we
I
have moisturizer, like
I
making sure that
love
we don't
being in the
dry out
water.
or
Yeah.
not being overly wet. So, like, a lot of these animals in the water have it made. They're gonna be fine. Like, yeah, it's interesting to think about. Like, but we are a water planet with some weird exceptions.
No, I do. I love that sort of perspective. That is really, and I do think that, like, you look at the things that are in the deep ocean and they are
Sorry.
aliens. They're the weirdest things you've ever seen. And can you imagine the things that are in there that we have not yet found?
So you see, in my opinion, it's so reversed. It's like we're the aliens. Like we're living in this like alternate like air world that like we're struggling to clasp onto life. And these
And is
guys can
that
just
why
nap.
humans are in survival mode anxiety all the time? Because we're supposed, maybe that's what it is. We're all supposed to be in the water more.
Dude, maybe. I mean, that the fact that like you can fall, like the idea of falling doesn't exist in the ocean. Like what the hell? Like most of my
That's an interest.
fear in life is like, yeah, I'm gonna bash my head on the floor. Like I'm gonna fall out of this tree. Like, no, that is not an issue for most
Oh,
of the life
I'm
on the planet.
I'm just concerned that I'm gonna fall down the stairs and, bash my head in that way because I have a tendency to do those things. But then, no, I love that. There's no falling in the ocean. There's no falling in the water. And, how do you simulate anti-gravity for people who are, training in water is one of the places where you do that.
Yeah,
That's
I just think it's so cool.
that is a very interesting take on that, just the perspective of the planet. We are kind of the odd ones out, aren't we? Being out
Yeah,
on
we're just
land the
like
way we are.
these weird, crusty, dry flesh things that like fall.
I mean, doesn't it just make us humans feel like losers? We think we're so great.
How romantic of my
That's on brand for you. It's good. It
yeah,
totally
I'm
works.
not a poet. Actually, maybe a little bit, but like I wouldn't have nice things to say about land animals.
About
I
land
would.
animals. Okay,
Generally,
well,
yes.
here's maybe a little bit of a sillier question then. So one of the animals that I am terrified by and also fascinated with, uh, crocodiles, because
Nice.
they can get you in water or on land, right? So
Hmm.
here's a question. Would you rather have to contend with a crocodile or a grizzly bear?
Croc.
Really?
10 times out of 10. Yeah.
Okay, why is that?
Here's because a grizzly bear, you have 0% chance. Grizzly bear grizzly bear is it's like attacking a car that is smart, sharp, and
Has
has the jaw strength to crush a bowling ball without really trying. An alligator, although they have maybe like a hard punch to their mouths,
mhm.
that's all they got. They're they're glorified like lizard llamas. Like other than the fact
Lizard llama. Okay.
okay, I think llama was in my head just for the alliteration, but I
I
mean,
love alliteration in general, and I think this would fit fabulously already into one of your animated children's episodes.
Thanks. There are crocodile wrestlers. I mean, that's a profession. People do that. Have you met a single grizzly wrestler? No, because they're eviscerated and under the ground.
Because yes, Grizzly Man, it does not turn out nicely in the end. All right, fair
No,
enough. I still
sorry.
don't. I still would love to vacation to Costa Rica, but would be terrified to be, anywhere near all of the crocodiles that are hanging out.
And
So
I respect that opinion. But I mean, I would just, if I were you, I just wouldn't like run from a crocodile and go to a grizzly bear personally, which I don't think there's a single place in the world that would actually happen unless it's in the zoo.
the one place it would happen would be in the movie Lake Placid, and you are running towards the grizzly bear because the giant crocodile is coming to eat it. And you want, but like you're just like getting in where the food is so that you can sort of duck out of the way.
Yeah,
Sorry,
I
that
don't think, they don't occupy any similar ecosystems together. Um, Grizzlies are pretty Arctic, not Arctic, but pretty northern and southern latitudes, mainly just northern. Um,
well, you have to,
and yeah,
suspend
crocs are
this.
pretty warm blooded. Yeah,
I was gonna say you have to
suspending
suspend
disbelief.
disbelief for the movie having, a giant crocodile that could eat a grizzly bear, that kind of thing. But see, this is this is why I think it's just a lot of fun to have this conversation because I get to be silly and you get to have like actual facts and information about stuff. Just that,
I'm
by the
glad.
way, you are just pulling right out of your brain and just have it right there. And I think that's amazing too.
Thank you very much. I spend a lot of my time looking up animal facts to stay relevant.
Is that it's so that is just as a wrap up question then. So how do you sort of come up with what it is that you're doing next or talking about next or what you're creating next?
Yeah, totally. There's no rhyme or reason. I have a super long notes section in my phone that just has every video that I've thought of while I was in the middle of sleeping and like waking up
Mhm.
like, oh my God, you gotta do one about like this comedy show that like there's like this iguana. And then actually like look at this script after and I'm like, what, this isn't coherent. I don't know what I was saying. But
But
there's
they were brilliant ideas in the moment, and you have to be able to do something with it.
like, I remember the other night waking up, cracking up, and then I typed it in my phone, and then I went to bed, and then I woke up, and I'm like, "This isn't
What
even
is
English."
this?
Like, yeah, like, there's no way, but, there's no process really. If I'm really scrounging for information, what I'll do is I'll go onto the, like, Google Scholar, like, case study pages, and I'll find, like, studies done for behavioral, like, experiments on animals. And
Okay.
so I'll look to see kind of like any new developments when it comes to animal behaviors because people love comparing themselves to animals. If I'm like, hey, listen, um, women elephants run uh, the pack. And then everyone in the chat will be like, yeah, women. Like,
Yay, lady elephants. What's up?
so exactly. So like people love doing that. And I play to that quite a bit. There's
I
sometimes
mean,
that there's
who
one like
doesn't
you
love it?
fake your There's one about, a standing skunk that, like, does handstands to avoid predators, and so I did that to, like, avoid having an awkward conversation with a girl, and, like,
Oh,
that
I
was
love it.
super relatable to people, so, like, that's what did well, so, yeah, there's a couple different ways. There's, like, survival tips that I learned, like,
Mhm.
medicine tips that I've also learned, and then there's just, like, crazy animal facts that I can try to personify into human culture, to get people to relate to animals a bit better, which scientists say not to do, but at the same time, I'm here to explore wonder and excitement with people to get them outside, so that's my whole
Yeah,
message.
I love that, and I think that that's a really great way to do it because, I mean, what better way to get people interested than to, like, anthropomorphize animals like that? For better or for worse, we are a bit arrogant as humans, and we don't have a lot of, interest in looking at things outside of our own lenses. So if you can present it in a fun way to get people in there and interested, that I think is it's an amazing a goal to have, and I really think that you're just killing it. I think it's great. I love the content. I am so glad that you decided to join me for this podcast episode. This has been so much fun.
Of course, Haley. Thanks so much for, thinking of me and liking my stuff. I love it.
I think it's really great. And again, could have fooled me. I'd have thought you had a team of 6 people helping you out. So, yay to the other 5 versions of you who are doing all the things with you.
I appreciate you, Haley. Thank you guys so much, and thanks for listening for this whole episode.
Yes, and I will definitely put all your links in the description below so that everybody
Right
can
on.
find you and check out all of your stuff. But go support Outdoor Anthony. And let me tell you, at the moment you have a show, we want to know about it. And please do invite me on sometime to ruin things, even if it's just for one episode, because I think it would just be a lot of fun.
That would be super rad. All right. Thank you,
I
Haley.
love it. Thank you. Hi again, friend. Thanks again for joining us for this episode of the No Small Stories podcast. Do check out the links below in the description so you can find more information on this episode's guest. And if you'd like to support more episodes of the No Small Stories podcast, you can become a patron. Find us on patreon.com/no small stories. Do also follow us on Instagram at No Small Stories podcast. And don't forget to like, share, subscribe, comment, leave a review, do all those wonderful things that you awesome listeners can do. Until next time, friends, remember, no matter how small you start, your story is always a big deal to us.